بسم الله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So today I wanted to talk about this one name I've been thinking about a lot. I feel like it's mostly I started thinking about it yesterday when I was like, okay, what name should I talk about? And usually like for the halakha I talk about one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So this name I did one halakha in fall of 2024. But I kind of went did other halakas with other names, but this name kind of came up and I have this one note from the halakha that I did before, right? So I was like, let me just do that halakha, let me just review this name because this name is really beautiful. It's Al-Wasi, right? So we're going to break down why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls himself Al-Wasi and what does Al-Wasi mean, right? So Al-Wasi means he is the most vast, right? And what do I mean by vast? So vastness, when you think about vastness, what comes to your mind when you think about the most vast thing you've ever seen or you can just think of?
Probably either the sky or the ocean.
Yes, that's right. When you think about the sky, it's ever encompassing. Wherever you see, sky is always there, right? So let's say you're in America, or let's say you're in Dubai, you're in Europe, or anywhere else in the world, right? Wherever you are, whenever you look up, you see the sky, right? So that means that it's so vast that wherever you are in this world, it's always on top of you, right? And ocean too, when you look at the ocean as far as your eyes can see, right? It's still there, you cannot see the end of it, right? When you think about it. And when you think about galaxies too, right? Galaxies, the universe is so vast, right? What we know is basically 4% of the whole universe. The 96% of the universe is still unknown. Nobody knows what's there. Is it dark matter? But that's really I like science a lot. So if you think about it, there's so many things that we don't know and so many things that are so vast that is beyond our imagination, right? Beyond what we can encompass, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most vast, means that he encompasses everything. That everything we know, even the sky being so vast, it's spacious, right? And it's the fact that it never runs out of space. Wherever you look, let's say you're in the end of the world, you're in Antarctica, or you're at the very end of the world, right? If you look up, the sky is not there. It's not the case, right? The sky is there, means that it is encompassing everything. Wherever you are, whenever you look up, it's always there, right? So whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls himself vast, right, he means that he is including everything, right? So what do I mean by that? Let's say you go into a room, right? If you're, and a bunch of people are talking, right? If you're included in that conversation, that means you feel welcomed, right? You're like, oh yeah, they're really friendly, they're really nice, they're talking to me about whatever I'm interested in, they really want to get to know me, right? That's what you mean by when you feel included, right? And when you think about being excluded, means that you go to a room or you go to a place or you go to a class, right? And you don't know what's happening in that class, you don't know what's happening in the room, right? That's when you feel excluded, right? So whenever you think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being Al-Wasi, means that he has space for everyone, right? No matter where you are, no matter where you are in your journey, when it comes to getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wherever you are in your life, whichever age you are, there's always a space for you for Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always has a space for everybody, right? He understands everybody because he's the one who knows us better than ourselves, right? So whenever we think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being Al-Wasi, means that he encompasses everything. He has space for everything, right? So when you think about this one, one of the analogy that when I was reading the book that actually talks about Al-Wasi, it talks about that there's a room for everybody, right? When you have a club, let's say you start a club or you're part of a club, right? There's different roles, right? There's president, there's vice president, there's event coordinator, there's event chair, so many different roles, right? And there's everybody that fits that role, right? Let's say a person who's really good at public management, PR, right? Public relations. They might not be good at, let's say, event coordinator. There's room for everybody. What I mean by that is that there's place for everybody, whatever they're good at, right? There's if you think about it in the world, right, there's so many different types of people, right? And not everybody fits the role of certain thing, right? Like not everybody gets to be a doctor, not everybody gets to be a teacher, because some people who are really good at teaching, they might not be really good at some other things, right? So there's different types of people and there's roles that everybody has, right? And they're like, oh, some people like find out that they're really passionate about art, right? So they become an artist, right? Let's say a person who's a teacher might not understand the artist, be like, oh yeah, what are you talking about? I don't understand art, right? So there's certain people who are good at certain things. There's certain people who are not good at other things, right? So no matter whatever you're passionate about, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being al-wasi is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has space, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has room for everybody, right? Like if you are an artist, if you are a teacher, if you are an engineer, if you are a doctor, if you are any of the job, any of the career that you choose, right? No matter where you are, you still get to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You still get to be a Muslim, right? Like there's if you ever been to like a big, like I don't know if they have those food festivals, right, where they come from different cultures, right? They bring so many different types of food. There's food from like Asian cuisine, there's food from Arab cuisine, there's food for different places, right? And they taste different, but they all come together and they celebrate what? Eating food, right? They celebrate the fact that they can have so many different types of like dishes and they bring it together, right? So like when you think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name being al-wasi, that he has room for everybody, the fact that you can still be a teacher, you can still be an artist, you can still be anything, engineer, you can still be a marine biologist, anything, right? Anything you could be, but you still get to be a Muslim. You still get to have a closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So that's what it means by when you think about his name al-wasi, right? That means that he is limitless, right? So let's say when I think about like the universe, right? If you know about this one thing, I know I'm gonna nerd out here. Do you know about cosmic redshift? Have you ever heard of it?
I have.
You see how the universe is expanding, right? It's always like the fact that there was one star that existed in one point in the universe, right? If you look back, there's a redshift that happens and you don't see the star in the same place. That means that it expanded. The star is further away, right? In time and also in space too, right? Like you might see a star that existed like millions of years ago, right? And you see the star now because the light comes to us now. But by the time the light reaches to us for the star, the star is already gone, right? So if you think about it, the universe is ever expanding, right? Things that were there at a certain point in life, right? It doesn't exist at that point, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is expanding the universe. Who's doing the redshift? And if you actually look a little bit deep into the Quran, there is actually one ayah about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying that he expands the universe, right? So if you think about the one who is stretching the universe, the one who is expanding the universe, right? He's the one who's limitless. There's no limit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what I mean by, there's no limit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I mean that there's no, nothing is stopping you from asking this one thing that you want. Right? Let's say you're like, I really want to be this one thing. Like, y'all, I want to be a doctor. Or let's say, y'all, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a speaker. Anything, right? You're like, y'all, I want this, but I don't know if you can make it possible. No. When you think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name being al-wasi, means that he can make anything possible. There's no limit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala everything and anything, right? And the big that you dream, right? You think it's big to you, right? But to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not that big, right? So there's one sheikh, his name is Sheikh Akram al-Nadwi, right? So he was basically saying this one thing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name being al-wasi, that he was saying that, if you ask me a penny, right? If you think about American currency, if you ask me for a penny, for me to give you a penny, it's not going to bother me at all, because a penny to me is nothing, right? I can give you one penny, I can give you two pennies. Pennies are what? It's kind of like, it doesn't weigh much to a person, for a person to give out a penny to another person, right? So he was basically saying that if you ask me a penny, and to me, what the penny means is actually what to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala your dua means. That to me, the penny is something I can just give you right now, right? So when you think about it, so when you think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name being al-wasi, that for us, we think our dreams are big. We think our du'as are big. That, we can never achieve this dream. Ya Allah, it must be really big. Should I even ask you about this? This is such a big dua, right? For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your dua is like a penny. It's so small, and it's something that he can just give you right away, because to him it's nothing. He can just make anything happen, when you think about Allah SWT being, when Allah SWT says kun fayakun, be and it is, right? So yeah, so basically we're talking about Allah SWT's name, Al-Wasi, which means he's the most vast, right? So yeah, so when you think about, Allah SWT being Al-Wasi, that he is Al-Wasi in forgiveness, right? So I will read to you guys this ayah that Allah SWT says in Surah Al-Araf, right? He says, my mercy encompasses all things, right? So Allah SWT is saying basically his mercy, his forgiveness encompasses, it covers everything, right? So the Arabic word that he used for the English word encompass, he used the word wasiyat, right? So when he says that my mercy encompasses everything, for the word encompass in Arabic, he used the word wasi, right? Wasiyat. So the wasiyat has the same root as Allah SWT's name, Al-Wasi, right? And the root word comes from waw, sin, and ayn, right? So when you think of Allah SWT being Al-Wasi, that he uses his name, like, Al-Wasi, it has the same root as the same word that he uses for when he talks about his forgiveness, when his mercy, right? So if you think about Allah SWT, like, Ya Allah, yours, like, when you think about it in a way, it's like, when a person cares about what they say to you, right? When they care for you, right? They use gentle tone, right? They're like, are you okay? Like, let's say, like, we see each other and I see you very stressed, or you see me very stressed here, right? You're caring, you're like concerned, you're like, is everything okay? What happened? Why do you look sad, right? So I'm using a gentle tone when I'm talking to a person that I care about, right? So when Allah SWT uses the word wasiyat, when he describes like encompassing, when he describes his forgiveness, right? When he uses the same, like in the same line, he uses wasiyat and he's using encompassing. Like the same line, he's using mercy and he's using wasiyat, meaning encompassing, right? So what does it mean when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being so, like, generous to us, that he uses such a gentle tone, right? That he knows, like, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Wasi. He wants us to know this name, right? And all the other halakas, if you think about it, I talk about this one thing where, like, let's say you care about someone, right? You want the person to know more about you, or you want the person to be, like, you want to be close to someone, you tell this person more things about you, right? If you have a close best friend, right, they know more about you than anybody else, because they're always with you. They know everything, every little things, like maybe you like tomatoes or you don't like pickles, right? Some things, some small details, right? They know about you because they're the closest ones, right? So when you think about our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, when he wants us to be close to him, he wants us to know more about himself, right? So that's why, like, this one thing is just so, like, when you think about it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful that he's using the same word, like the same root word, when he's describing mercy. He's using the same word for his name being Al-Wasi, that his mercy is so vast, it encompasses everything, right? So, when you think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is vast. So what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being vast means, right? So he's vast in his knowledge, he's vast in his dominion, he's vast in his forgiveness, right? And he's vast in his blessings, right? We have so many blessings, right? And if you think about small things, if you just sit down, you're like, what good things happened to me today? And you start listing out, oh, I woke up early today, I didn't miss my class, I didn't miss my bus, oh, I just barely made to the halakha today, right? If you think about it, you have so many things that you just, like, you think about it, you're like, alhamdulillah for that, alhamdulillah that didn't happen, right? Alhamdulillah that didn't happen, right? Like, when you think about, you sit down and you think about it, you're like, I can't just stop thinking about the things that happen that are good, right? Like, you always find yourself being like, I should have been more thankful for this one blessing. Oh my gosh, I forgot that happened. That's a good thing, right? So when you think about your day-to-day life, right, you sit down, you're like, what is the one thing I'm grateful for today? What is the other thing I'm grateful for today? You're never gonna run out of things to be grateful for, right? So when you think about all these blessings, that who's the one who gives us? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So when he describes his blessings, when he describes his forgiveness, right, he uses the word, like the same root word as Al-Wasi, right? So when you think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, you are the one who's the most vast. You are the one who's encompassing everything. You're the one who's limitless. I can ask you for anything and everything, right? And So I do ask the question at the beginning of the halaqa, but I feel like today we just went away with what I was talking about, right? But yeah, so I want to ask you guys, and we're gonna go from here, your name, and then one of the things. So the question is, have you ever felt like left out in a situation where you went in or like something happened and you felt like I wasn't included or I was left out in a way? Like have you ever felt like out of place? It could be in a class, it could be in a situation, it could be anything. But have you ever felt that I feel like out of place? Like I don't know if I belong here. Something like that, right? I want you guys to like think about it. Did you ever guys ever felt that way? And if you guys have any like thoughts, just share with me. We're gonna start with you. Say your name and give me a story that you felt like I wasn't in place, like I felt left out.
So, my name's Iman, and so I'm a bio major, and I never took AP Bio in high school
Okay.
because long story. So when coming to Stony Brook, it was like my first time taking like college level biology, and I feel like I definitely felt out of place. I felt a lot of imposter syndrome, and I felt like
You felt like, do you even belong here?
Yeah, like I couldn't do this, and the course material was also very difficult. The exams were very difficult,
Yeah.
and I just feel like it reflected. I feel like my effort into the class wasn't as reflected into the grades that I was receiving, and I felt a little bit left out because maybe like people who are doing better than me were like, I just feel like I didn't really belong in the class, and like I started thinking like maybe I'm not cut out for like learning all of these
Right.
classes in these classes and stuff.
It was bio, which one? Like 201?
It was 202, so it was a tough class, like regardless. I just feel like I projected a lot on myself as opposed to like the structure of the class.
Right.
So yeah.
How did it went? Like after that, did you?
Like I did like I feel like the average was a C in
Okay,
my class,
okay.
so I got a little bit above average, but I'm probably going to
Retake the class. Yeah.
It's just like I thought, like I know like people who are my friends who did really well, and like they like I feel like even though I was dedicating a lot of time into the class, I feel like what I was doing was never enough. So I guess that also kind of correlates with why I feel like I didn't belong, or like I feel like this path wasn't right for me.
Right. You started questioning yourself, like, is this even for me?
Yeah.
Like, am I meant to be like studying biology since like you were a bio major, right?
Yeah.
And when you said that, it kind of reminds me. So I'm in this lab, right? It's a social psychology lab, and what we're researching. So I'm working with this PhD student, right? And we're doing basically is like we're looking at data of people who feel imposter syndrome, and it's mostly like we focus on STEM majors, right? So we find out, like, as I'm looking at it, and yesterday I did my first time, like I never coded, right? But she's teaching me how to code, and like I did my first coding with her, and it felt like, oh my gosh, I never did coding, and I'm not a tech person, right? But to just from there to be like able to code. But yeah, so what we see, like, people in STEM major, they feel most imposter syndrome than any other major, because the level of the academic level is so high, right? So people in those majors, they feel like, is this for me or is this not for me, right? So basically we're looking at that, right? So when you think about it, like, you felt that way, but you felt like this is not the place where you started questioning yourself, right? But alhamdulillah, at the end though, I think, when you think about it, you did really good though, because I've heard from other people who have taken the major, but inshallah you take it next time, and inshallah you do a better job, inshallah, right? So you're gonna tell me a story about one time you felt like out of place.
So my name is Jennifer, and I actually have two because
Okay, share two of them.
She
Yeah.
reminded me of one basically.
Okay.
She's also the major, and I guess it's because as a mechanical engineer, like it's mainly men in the class.
Okay.
Especially this semester.
Right.
I was having such a hard time grasping the information, but luckily I had friends that actually knew how to explain it. But But whenever I look around, I'm looking around, I'm like, I really should be here so I can represent the female community that's in STEM. Because it's like only 5 women or so in like a class of I think like 100. Like no, sorry, 62 kids.
Oh, it's a mostly like predominantly it's a lot of like male.
There's 2 sections, but my section's like it's for both Civ and Mech. But my section only has Mech, so I saw it. I'm like, I'm pretty sure.
Like at first when you went in, you're like, is this right for me? Yeah.
I'm looking around, I'm like, I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
Catch up and everything. And the other part, I guess it's like meeting new people.
Right.
And seeing if like you can like be friends with them, because at times I did meet people and like I still am meeting people, but I'm not sure if I can be like friends with them.
Right.
Because it's a matter of getting to know them. The more you know them, the more like comfortable or uncomfortable you can be.
Right. And you figure out mostly about yourself too, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically like a learning curve in a way where you learn as you grow, right? Like you can see yourself, you're like, oh, this is a certain type of people I fit with. There's certain type of people I don't fit with, right? Let's say you're an introvert. You can maybe like find another introvert, like more talkative. You guys find more similar things, right? Versus let's say you're friends with an extrovert. And it could happen, if you're introvert, extrovert, they can be friends. But most likely what happens is people who are similar to each other, they find more more companionship with each other, right? So that's one of the things too. Like I was basically one of my psych classes I had today. We're basically learning about adolescents, like people who are young, right, at teenage years when they actually find friends, right? And when you have different types of group, like people who are in different groups of friends, right, it really influences our brain system, right? Like our brain cognition reacts different way when you are with different people. So let's say if you're with a people like a bunch of like a group of friends who are very, very risk takers, they will be let's say driving really fast, or they like basically what I was learning in my class, right? They're doing some things that are like really something very risky, right? Maybe they're sneaking out, whatever it's happening, right? So people, let's say you've never done that, right? Your brain chemistry is never used to it, right? But you're in a company of people, they are risk takers, right? Your brain, like your cognition, your different I would say different, like let's say different what is it, dopamine, your dopamine level, it rises when you're with people like that, right? So there's different type, like your brain cognition reacts a different way when you're with different people, right? So when you find people that you belong, your brain is like in a stable position. It's not doing anything, like your brain is not in an imbalanced position. It's in a stable position, right? So it's basically like you have to find the people that you feel that this is the right people for me, right? And when you think about it, one hadith of Rasulullah, what he said was that, when you're with good company, it feels like a perfume shop. Let's say even if you didn't do anything, right? Even if you didn't apply any perfume, if you're in a perfume shop, you're gonna come out smelling nice because there's perfume all around you, right? And if you're in a bad company, it's gonna be like those blacksmith places, when let's say it always smells because they're always doing the ironing and everything, right? So like with the hot iron, that's what blacksmith is. So when you're gonna come out of that shop, right, you're gonna smell like what? Like how the place was smelling, right? Even if you weren't, especially the person who was a blacksmith, right? So that's just like when you think about it, how did Rasulullah know about the brain chemistry? He didn't study neuroscience when he was saying that, right? But somehow you knew because Allah knows everything, right? So if you think about it, like Rasulullah said something way before time, and now if you're like learning psychology, now you're finding out that actually that's true. When you're with people that are different, your brain reacts in a different way, right? So when you're in a good company, let's say people who are doing good things, they're like nice people in general, right? You're gonna see yourself being like, you know what, I actually want to do that, right? Like let's say if you're with a friend, right, who always helps other people, right? They're always like in a position where they're they're gonna help another person whenever another person asks them for help, right? Let's say you're walking with your friend and they see an old lady and they go out and help that person, right? You're gonna feel after you're with that friend, after you're like, you know what, I actually want to do that too. I want to be a person who also wants to help another person, right? So if you think about it, like how different company affects you. But that's a really good thing that you mentioned, like when we feel that we're out of place, right? When we feel that is this where I belong? Is this the right place for me, right? If you think about it, I feel like today, so my psych class, right? Like there's so many areas of psychology, and I am still trying to figure out which area I like, right? So up until last semester, I was really interested in social psychology. I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to get a PhD on it, and I'm also in a social psychology lab. So I'm doing like a research with her. But this semester, I'm taking this psychotherapy class, like psychotherapy and sciences, right? The moment I took this class, I knew that, because last semester clinical psychology wasn't like an option for me. I wasn't sure if I want to study it, right? But when I started studying psychotherapy and sciences, I started figuring out that there's different therapy techniques you can apply, and there's so much to know, right? And that's the moment I'm like, is this for me? So one of the person that I learned about, his name is Albert Ellis, and he basically discovered this. He invented basically this whole therapy technique, right? It's called REBT, Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. And I know I'm just going a little bit into tangent, but so basically I learned about him, right? And so I was looking for graduate school. I was looking through university. I was looking to faculty members. I was looking into different colleges to see different colleges under university to see which, because when you have to do PhD, right, you have to do it under a mentor, right? So it's really important that your interest aligns with the person that you want to do a PhD with, right? You want to do a PhD under. So I was looking through it, and I actually saw this one person. Her name is Dr. Deborah, right? And I found out that she is basically the wife of Albert Ellis that I learned about, right? So her husband is basically this legend in psychology, and she's teaching in Columbia University. And I just found out, and I was like, this is amazing. What? What is happening? How did a legend's wife is within the same vicinity as me? So I basically emailed her that I learned about her husband in my class for the first time, and I wasn't expecting an email back or anything, but I was like, she's a celebrity. If she even replies, if she even reads my email, that would make my day. But obviously she replied I think last day or the day before. But basically she was saying that this is really nice to learn that you're really interested and everything. But I don't know why I went into a tangent basically. But basically, so when I'm learning about there's biopsychology, right? So there's a lot of neurotransmitters. There's a lot of brain imaging. It's a lot of basically biology, right? So we had a little bit of small section about basically when you have, let's say, if you have addiction, right? How does your brain react to addiction, right? So when I was learning about addiction, that's when I realized that maybe biopsychology is not for me. I like clinical psychology. I want to learn about therapy techniques, but biopsychology is not for me, right? So when my professor was saying these big names of the neurotransmitters, right? I don't even remember them. But when she was saying those names, I'm like, what is she saying? Is she talking in an ancient language? Why am I not understanding anything she's saying, right? So basically that's what I wanted to say, is that I felt so out of place, and I was in the first row, and I'm just looking at her like I've never seen someone talk in that language before, as if English is my other language that I've never heard of, right? But basically what I wanted to say is that when you think about, there's certain points in your life you will feel that way, where you're like, is this right thing for me? Is this the way for me to go, right? So when you think about that, right? When you have those moments that you stop in your tracks and you're like, yo, I don't know what to do. Is this the way for me? Is this where I belong? Is this what you chose for me, right? If you have those moments, I want you guys to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name, Al-Wasi, that He is the most vast, and His earth is very vast, right? So you have to just go and you have to find what He has chose for you in a way, right? So basically what I wrote is that you have to find what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created for you, right? And what do I mean by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for what, right? I mean by what is your purpose, right? And this is something really amazing, that something that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created me for. I want you guys to rethink that question. It's what has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created for me, right? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created like, for us, a lot of things, right? He created some things in us that are so unique to other people, right? We have different passions, right? We have different things that we're interested in. Some of us really like cooking, and the other, like, the welcome holiday I was doing, I was like, how many of you guys know how to bake? And a lot of people showed up their hands because they know how to bake, they know how to cook, right? So certain things that are so unique and they're so special to us, right? And also that He gave us those qualities, right? Because He knows that He created that thing for us, right? So if you think about it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name being Al-Wasi, that you have to find out what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you for, right? So that's where you go out and you're like, what is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created for me, right? What type of friendship has He created for me? What type of space, what type of major, what type of subject did He create for me? What is my purpose in this world? Like, what am I like here to do, right? Like, what am I really passionate about? What am I dreaming of? What are the things that I really want to do, right? So, when you think about, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the one who allows you to breathe, right? Like, when you think about us breathing, and I know we're talking a lot of like different tangents, right? But our like chest, it expands and then it stresses, right? So basically this one class, it's basically, I don't know if you guys know about Kalam Institute. So they're settled in Texas, and they're an institute that teaches like Islam. So they have a lot of classes in Islam. If you want to know more, like, a lot about different topics in Islam, you can like definitely take classes there. I don't know if they do online classes, but basically they have a YouTube channel, and they sometimes like post certain series that they're doing. And then one of the like series that they're currently doing is in 99 Names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one of the teacher, like his name is Sheikh Michael Smith, right? And he's one of my favorites. I love listening to him. So basically he was talking last class, or like the week before. It happens every Wednesday. So he was basically talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being Al-Qabid and Al-Basit. Those two names I might cover someday, right? But basically he was saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who expands your chest, and He's the one who compasses your chest, right? Like even the fact that we're breathing, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made our body in such a unique way that it knows when to do what, right? So when you think about it, like, how did the one who created such small, minute details in ourselves, right? He's the one who knows what He created for us, right? So anytime you feel like, you feel that, is this right for me? Like, you question yourself, you question your purpose, you question basically who you are, right? That's when you have to remember that, Ya Allah, I might not know who I am at this moment, right? But I know who You are. And You are Al-Wasi. You are the one who's the most vast, right? You are the one who has so many things in store for me, right? And I might not know what's happening to me right now. I might feel out of place, right? But I know who You are. So Ya Allah, guide me. Ya Allah, just show me the way, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who, like, guides our heart, because He's Al-Hadi. He's the one who, guides people, right? So, and also one thing I want to like end off here, because I think it's we still have time. But one thing I want to end off here is that when you think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His religion is also vast, right? So what do I mean by that? Sometimes we think that this is the only way for me to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Like maybe if I pray, right? And we all have to pray 5 times a day, right? But if I pray more than that, right, that's the only way I get to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He is Al-Wasi, right, He means that His religion is vast, that you can be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in different ways, right? You can be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by being, let's say, more helpful to others, right? You can be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some people are really wealthy, they have a lot of money, right? They can be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by giving a lot, giving charity, right? So one thing I want you guys to think about is there's not only one way to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's multiple ways to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And you have to find out which way makes sense for you, right? Like, okay, I'm praying, I'm fasting. Some people are really like, they're really good at fasting. They will be fasting every single, like, summer days, the long summer days, they're still fasting. They're fasting Monday, Thursday, if you guys know that's one of the sunnahs, right? So they'll be fasting every time, right? Some people are not good at that. They have to eat. They need their body to recharge, right? So there's certain things that some people are good at. There's certain things some people are not good at, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being Al-Wasi means that He's the most vast, and He will, like, He has created certain things for you that you can be close to Him with, right? So, when I think about, smiling, You can always like we can always smile to another person, right? And helping others, right? Like, be a person that always is there ready to help another person whenever another person asks for help, right? So, being honest with another person, right? Sometimes it happens to us that we're so exhausted in a situation and we're like, do I really have to do this extra step, right? But when you think of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's name being Al-Wasi, that you want to be someone that is also the vast. Because sometimes we, like, this is one of the things too, like, whatever names you learn from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, like about Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, you want to apply it in your own life, right? So if Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is Al-Wasi, what do you want to be? You also want to be someone who's also vast in a way that you want to help another person. You want to be, like, good to other people around you, right? So yeah, so like, one thing I want to just, end off here, the key takeaway is that just know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most vast, and so is his religion too, right? Where there's place for everybody, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter where you are at your journey in, like, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has space for you too, right? He's the one who is the most vast. So his religion, the way to be close to him is also vast, right? So, there's space for all of us with all of our mistakes. There's always space for us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Because He's Al-Wasi. And another thing is, like, sometimes we feel like, like some people, like, we want to matter to another person, right? Like, if I matter to this one friend, I have value. If I don't matter to this friend, or if I don't matter to this friend group, I don't have value. Sometimes we let people's thought about us dictate how we feel about ourselves, right? If this one person feel a certain way about us, we feel bad that, oh, I don't know why she's feeling this way about me, right? Just know that there's, like, don't let people just, give you value, because you only have value to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? If He gives you value, if you're the type of person that He will love, then you have value, right? Like, don't let other person dictate how you feel about yourself, right? Like, you need to feel, like, you need to love yourself. When you think about it, love yourself, what does it mean, right? You have to care about yourself, right? And when you have, like, your best friend, right, and you see your best friend struggling with something, right, do you stop loving your best friend even if they're struggling? No, you still love that person, right? So think about how you treat your best friend, and think about how you treat yourself. Sometimes you make a mistake and you get frustrated on yourself. You're like, why did I do that? It was a silly mistake. I shouldn't have done that, right? We're so strict with ourselves that we don't treat ourselves the way we treat our loved ones, right? But you should be like, you should be so kind to yourself, where, let's say you have these moments where you're like, I don't know, I'm struggling with this. Why do I keep making the same mistake, right? If you think of yourself as your best friend in a way where you're like, would I be treating my best friend would I be rude to my best friend if she makes a mistake? No, I'll give her, like, comfort that, okay, it's all right. You're gonna get through it. It's fine. People make mistakes. You're just a human being, right? So treat yourself the same way, that, okay, it's okay. I'm making the same mistake. I'm not getting this math right. I'm not doing good in this class, right? But it's okay. It's okay that I'm just a human being. I also struggle, like everybody struggles, right? So be compassionate to yourself, first and foremost, before you get to be compassionate to the other person, right? So what I was coming to, like, I don't know why I'm going to tangents in like a lot of ways. So what I wrote basically is, like, some people sometimes we're unknown to the earth. Let's say most people don't know us, or they don't give us the same value that we want them to give us, right? Sometimes we want certain things from certain people, and maybe they don't live up to our expectation, and that makes us so sad, right? But sometimes what happens is, some people are unknown to the world, right? But they're known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? If you think about it, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows who you are and He knows your value, then what more do you need, right? So just next time when you think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you think about Him being Al-Wasi, means that He's the most vast. There's always space for you, and He's limitless. So ask Him anything you want, right? And He'll always have something bigger and better in store for you, right? So this is where I'm going to end, inshallah. And we're going to end off with a beautiful dua, just like we do every time. Alright, Ya Rabbul Alameen, Ya Dhul Jalali wal Ikram, Ya Arhamur Rahimin, Ya Arhamur Rahimin. Ya Allah, our brothers and sisters in Gaza, Syria, Congo, Sudan, Uyghur, Afghanistan, Lebanon, Kashmir, wherever they're suffering, Allah grant them Jannat al-Firdaus A'la. Our brothers and sisters in Sudan, Ya Allah grant them Jannat al-Firdaus A'la. Allow them to only remember the good times, the good memories, and allow them to forget all the hardship, all the atrocities that they ever witnessed in the highest level of Jannat al-Firdaus A'la. Ya Allah, allow the reunion with their family members on the highest level of Jannat al-Firdaus A'la to heal all of their wounds, both physical and mental. Ya Allah, allow us to be the best version of ourselves. Ya Allah, allow us to shine wherever we go. Fi dunya wal akhirah. And here we go. We end here.